Hi, my name is Pano Mavridis. I'm a 525 MCAT scorer, and I've seen a lot of really good students struggle with the MCAT not because they don't know how to study or because of a lack of discipline. I believe the number one issue that plagues most students is a bad plan. And so that inspired me to make MPlan, and I'm just going to go through it, show how it works, and at the end I'll share how to get the 30% discount. But if you're interested and you need financial aid, I'm happy to provide it for free. So this is the first page that you'll see when you open it up, and as I talk through, I'll go ahead and discuss what makes good parts of a plan and how I came up with my current setup. This is the first page in onboarding that you'll see, whether you're starting from a paid plan or a preview plan. Now, AMC reports that students on average study between 250 and 300 hours, so this can take a myriad of combinations, but I believe a great combination is studying over the summer when you're working part-time, if at all. However, life gets in the way. I still recommend studying during a full-time work schedule rather than during school. I think studying during school is very difficult. So for this example, let's say that I study for 3 months and about 2 weeks. So now we get to building your study schedule. So I do recommend that you take full lengths and the review days back to back. Now it's very important to be realistic about when you can actually study when using this. That's why we have this buffer here. So I may say I can study 40 hours a week, but only use 80% of those. So let's say I'm free and I will dedicate 12 to approximately 3 p.m., a little over, a little under, every day of the week. I'll be consistent. So I said I can study 34 hours a week. We're going to only schedule you for 27 hours, and the engine will schedule you 27 hours worth of work to do. It will respect your limits, and this is just because, in those 34 hours you're going to have breaks, bathroom breaks, scrolling on your phone, talking with friends. So that's how we came up with this concept. And then vacation off days. I can say that in September I have a little trip this week. I'll be gone. I don't want to study. Next up, choosing content providers. Now, these are a few of the resources that we support. I think Kaplan and Blueprint is a great combination. We can design for you if you want, and also respects the budget. For this, I'm going to say Kaplan, Blueprint, and then for Extra Topics Khan Academy, I'm choosing. It's a great free resource. And then for practice banks, MPlan always schedules AAMC. This may come to change in the future. However, you will not have a successful MCAT plan if you do not utilize the AAMC resources. If there's any practice you do, it's always AAMC must be exhausted first. And that's how the engine schedules AMC in the plan. It first plots those to make sure it's fully used, and I'll show you where to check if this happens. So we're going to use UWorld in addition to AMC. I believe it is the best third-party practice provider by far. And then as a backup, if you completely run out of practice, you can have some Kaplan or Blueprint, whatever you purchased with those providers. Then we'll do Jack Weston, Cars Practice Daily, Anki Daily, and I'll say for my plan I want to do about 10 full lengths. Most students, successful students I believe, take about 9 to 13 full lengths. So over this 3-month and 2-week time span, we're going to say 10 full lengths. And I believe Blueprint is the best third-party provider for full lengths, although they are definitely more difficult than AMC. Practice is practice, and sometimes you just have to choose what you can get. I'm not going to customize here, but these are options where you can say, I'm really struggling with Psych-Soc. I want to see more of this entire section or specific topics. And then for the pacing and order of your science sections, I highly recommend weaving them together rather than moving one by one. So now you can click Generate My Plan. After you do this, you'll be prompted to generate an account. However, I already have one, so it's going to put me straight into the plan. So before we look at all that, it's definitely a little overwhelming at times, but let's look at the overview. You can see the total days, your hours per week, and how much we're utilizing. So the 27 hours is what's actually scheduled. It's not 80% of 27 hours. You can see some of your providers, today's to-dos, and a breakdown of the week. So if we look at the schedule, I believe this is what makes a successful schedule. Practice has to be done at the same time as content. They should be done immediately. Some people are weary of this because, I'm going to be seeing things in practice I haven't yet seen in content. Unfortunately, on test day, it's going to be the same thing. Even though I scored as well as I did not know everything I saw on that test. Building foundational test skills is very important, and it also takes time. We want to be doing this from the very beginning. So content with practice is what makes a proper plan. Anki and CARS daily is crucial to building that foundational knowledge. And then we start with a little half-length diagnostic. I think Blueprints is fantastic, and I believe it is also free. Then as we progress, we continue having content and practice. The content in MPlan is tied to practice. So for example, here we have Chem Phys from Blueprint for light and optics. There should be targeted practice from you where we can see it right here with light and optics. Because yes, as I said earlier, there are things you will not see in practice. However, it is nice to see things in practice that you've just seen in content to reinforce it. Then as we can see, we progress through the full lengths, and eventually, here's my break week, and then we'll arrive to AMC full lengths. We make sure that you always take all of them because they are the providers of the MCAT, so their resources will always be the best. And so check if your plan is using all the AMC resources. You can go to how to use, scroll down, and here we can see all of AMC Chem Phys is scheduled, all of Biochem, all of Psych Soc. And this topic coverage is how I broke down every single topic by the AMC for content. And I broke it down into different tiers, the most high yield things. So for Biochem, it may be something within metabolism. Most plans, if done correctly, should always include all three. But if you have a more condensed plan, it may start to clip some. Then here we can see AMC full lengths, 7 of 7 scheduled. And here's a little bit of our theory on how MPlan works. So going back to the overview. So if we look back at our schedule on one day, as you can see, we have Kaplan and Blueprint throughout the schedule because I picked both of them. How do we choose one or the other? I meticulously went through for every single topic, and I chose what I believe to be a better provider and also looked at the general internet consensus. For example, Kaplan Psych Soc is not held in very high opinion. So let's say you did Blueprint, Chem Phys, Light and Optics, and you just don't like the way you learned it. It did not stick with you. If you click on the day, look at the daily view, we can see the information broken down a little bit more. Now, because Kaplan did not align with this topic, so Kaplan did not have a particular chapter specifically on light and optics, it may have mapped to another similar topic, you won't see anything extra. However, if you did Blueprint Psych Soc for emotion, stress, and health, and that didn't click with you, Kaplan does have a similar chapter. If you look at chapter 6 in the Kaplan Psych Soc textbook, you can see emotion, stress, and health as a chapter or something similarly named. You can see it differently. If you see this link here, this maps to a Khan Academy link. So if I click this, I will get to see this same topic in Khan Academy, 3 components in universal emotions. Again, this will not be present for every single topic for 2 providers. So once again, Blueprint, Chem Phys, Light and Optics, there wasn't a similar Khan Academy or Kaplan link to align. However, if we advance another day, for nervous system, there was a similar Kaplan and Khan Academy. For Kaplan, general chemistry, there was a Blueprint module that was similar. Because you bought both of these providers, I assume, if you're creating this plan. I picked what I believe was best, and I built it for you, but if you disagree with me, I always have the other options, or I've tried to have the other option here in the bullet points for the day for you, in case you want to see it a different way. And also, Khan Academy always breaks things down very well, so I've done my best to always include those. Some extra features include the stats, strategies, and log mistake. Strategies just lay out some general strategies for different sections. I have built Chem Phys here, and I've also built CARS. Biochem and Psychosocial are still in development. You have to click launch to get back. You can click log mistake, so you can drag a screenshot here, and it's optional whether you want to fully discuss it. And if you go to stats, you can look at mistake analytics, and I created 2 mistakes, for example. So I made a mistake in kinetics and equilibrium. I said that my reasoning was flawed and I was overthinking. Well, here is the breakdown of my screenshot, and here I can lay out the reasoning. There's also a tracker for full-length exams. So once you complete them, they'll show up in a nice pretty graph. I have a few FAQs here. I'm in a mid-prep slump. Is that normal? Yes, it may be normal. I spent an entire month stagnating on the same score. AMC recommends you interpret your score in a confidence band. That's why if you look at an official report, you can see that while my score may have been 525, there was a range of it between 523 and 527. So what matters is your trend over time. So if you were improving and then you stopped for a little bit, that's okay. If you're going down and you stagnated, that may be a little more alarming. Overall, I believe that summarizes my software. Again, I think the biggest problem for students is planning, and I believe that if you stick to a plan like this for 105 days, you can achieve your score. And as you work with my software, it will improve over time, and you can shift things around. If you want to have this URL block today, eventually I will add more customization and schedule changes because people do not have consistent schedules for 3 months. Eventually that will be supported. You can also have falling behind. If you say, I missed a day of stuff, let me click these, it should adjust forward for you. All of that feature is still in development. There's also weaknesses. If you think you're not doing so well in one spot, you can click the topic and it should give you some extra work to do. Now, if you want to use my platform, it is paid. You can create a plan and preview it for 1 week. And if you start it and you think, oh, this is not good, or I scheduled way too much time for myself, you have free resets for quite a while. So if I didn't like the plan I made, I could reset at no cost and wipe it. It is until a certain date, so people can't abuse it, but hopefully it helps because you will not make a perfect plan on the first try. Now, time for the discount. If you go to compare plan models, you can see right here, to get 30% off, you just enter your email, someone else's email. The costs are $35, $55, and $75, and you can also upgrade lengths once you're within a plan. So I have a 6-month plan, it's $25 to upgrade. So I hope this is helpful. Please feel free to leave any comments and questions or suggestions. All feedback is good, and I wish you the best of luck studying. One extra note, if any of you care, for why I made MPlan. As I said, I saw a lot of students struggle with planning, but I also saw how ridiculously expensive some things were. Tutoring plans being thousands of dollars, practice banks hundreds of dollars. The AMC MCAT alone is a few $100s to schedule, and that's just if you take it one time. If you want to reschedule too close to the date, I believe there's also a fee. It is very expensive and it is very gate kept, and there's so many resources available. It's extremely overwhelming. It is a really difficult exam. It's one of the hardest standardized exams in this country, and that's why I wanted to make this. I believe this is a financially reasonable and affordable plan. I'm happy to provide discounts and eventually some scholarships to help students out. With a properly made plan, whether it's through me or someone else, and discipline, you will achieve your score. It is a very rocky process. There are many times during my studying where I thought I'm not doing anything right, but just stick to it and your score will come. Thank you.